Hi there, I'm Deborah Secunda. You may be wondering, why a raw food fest? Well, there are many studies that have determined that cooking your food destroys the enzymes that are in it. So we're being encouraged to enjoy the fruits and vegetables, the bounty of the earth, in its raw natural state. Viktoras Kulvinskas is today's leading authority on the raw live food movement. He co-founded the Hippocrates Health Institute with Dr. Ann Wigmore way back in the 60s, and he's authored several books, including Survival into the 21st Century. So let's join him at the Raw Food Fest in New York City for the inside scoop on his wonderful recipes that he's developed over the years and his in-depth explanations.
It's a pleasure to be back to New York City. It has been many years since I lived in this town, and I did actually. Most of you don't know that. I spent two years on Grant and Lafayette, where the three major forces in this country meet, and we loved it. We had a loft there, a friend of ours, and managed to carry on both consultant business. My wife was teaching dancing, and we were kind of taking time out to experience New York. The coverage of this workshop today's will be an introduction to the concept of enzymatic nutrition as being the foundation for live food, and talking about the science of it. We will have a food preparation that will follow with a combination of a smoothie and also some other things that you will be able to experience. It'll be a nice evening meal. And tomorrow it will be continuation of basically the science of and the research that goes into the use of live food for transformation. And basically it is a powerful field. Megatrends, years ago in the book, John Nesbitt spoke that the 90s will be noted in the field of biology with a force that was as impressive on cultural change as physics and chemistry. In the field of biology, it will be enzymes. Enzymes both in production of enzymes, fermentation, and gene splicing. Believe it or not, gene splicing is not done with little saws or microscope. It is being done by enzymes, specifically designer enzymes that are coming out of a source of other living creatures that have had their enzyme systems either seeked out. And in your whole human system, for instance, there are well over 3,000 different enzyme systems, much more extensive than just the digestive process, which is orchestrated by enzymes. The vegetarian diet, then the vegan diet, which is pure vegetarian, no dairy or animal products of any sort, is a major step. The raw food is the next step. The dairy products has a major allurement for most people who get into vegetarianism, because it is consciousness reducing. It's basically stupidity inducing, because it radically alters your red blood cell count. You're basically moving you toward more anemic condition. It is, according to Anna Schwartz, which is a 25-year study of King Gustav Institute, published in Acta Scandinavia, it is 85% of arthritic rheumatism is caused directly by consumption of pasteurized dairy products. Dr. Anand showed that pasteurized dairy products are basically caused, after the introduction of pasteurization during a 10-year study, of radical escalation of every form of cardiovascular diseases. Current studies in reference to diabetes show very clearly that type 1 diabetes is directly related, not yet experimentally established, but there's no other factor that correlates as well as the mother and infant's consumption of pasteurized dairy products, because that mucus just coats the Isle of Langerhans and it can't seep out the adequate amount of insulin to maintain the blood sugar level that the body needs, the insulin to piggyback sugar across the different membranes. Basically, the vegan is the way to go. And then the next step is more into the raw enzymatic. The most outstanding feature of the raw food diet is the singular component that is the most heat sensitive of all the other nutrients, the phytochemicals, the nutraceuticals that are found in the raw foods. It is the one that breaks down at temperatures below 120 degrees. Raw foods are the only kind of foods that don't lead to post-meal leukocytosis. It's a situation where after a meal of cooked food that didn't have adequate high enough enzymatic levels, the white blood cell count just shoots way up by 300 to 400%, indicating a condition equivalent to a severe infectious condition. What is even more interesting is studies done of pancreas of animals in the wild or animals that live exclusively on raw foods. They found their pancreas was 1/2 to 1/3 their size relative to their body weights of the humans who eat mixed diet or all cooked food diets type of approaches, which means that basically even under the traditional raw plus some cooked food diets, the pancreas is already in overdrive, overworked, and enlarged, which is always precedes the eventual breakdown of the particular organ. Heart works hard, overworks, gets larger and larger. Eventually, it's not functioning at all properly. Any organ you will think. Liver gets enlarged, kidney gets enlarged. Talk about kidney. For instance, kidney, what does it do? It maintains your electrolytes in a proper balance so that the pH continues to be alkaline for the blood and processes all the metabolic waste products, especially associated with the protein. Due to the exaggerated, not only protein, but also exaggerated salt intake for its alkalinity effect, what happens is we have a plague of kidney disorders. When the kidney overworks, what happens? Like any organ, whether you overwork your muscle through resistance training, what happens? Gets larger. Overwork your kidney, gets larger. So we have a plague of what? Lower back aches. The kidney has enlarged, it's pressing on the lower back. The chiropractors adjust you and temporarily you'll feel relief. But the answer lies is dietary upgrade, enzymatic support. That's getting into long-term solutions. Short-term solutions are always there. You can get some acupuncture treatment. A massage could end up helping. A lot of things can help. But the whole issue is addressing the whole thing that is going on. As pancreas gets more and more stressed by cooked food, Dr. Gerson, a medical doctor who specializes in cancer therapies with with raw food programs, an MD, and his daughter continues on the program out in Mexico. In his textbook, he states that every form of cancer is preceded by pancreatic breakdown. When the pancreas starts malfunctioning, guess what starts happening? You getting into more and more in circulation of incompletely metabolized food. The incompletely metabolized food is treated as an invader, no different than chemicals or germs in your system. And the immune system becomes hyperactive. I told you, 300 to 400% increase in activity of the immune system, and it tries to gobble them up. The white blood cells go right to the target, squirting enzymes as long as they have adequate amount of enzymes. When they start running low on enzymes, what happens next? Well, your body starts proliferating more and more white blood cells. Before you know it, you're moving into hyper white blood cell levels, eventually to what is called leukemia. But as the body becomes more and more polluted with all this circulatory stuff, it goes into all kind of backup emergency therapies and treatments. And we'll discuss that tomorrow, how your body functions under all these kind of stress. But coming back to enzymes. Now, enzymes are basically the only nutrients that do work inside your body. Protein don't do any work. What does it mean, work? To be able to do something. Protein just participates in the dance. Enzymes go out and they see a complex protein and they chop it. And the next one comes over, chops it further, chops it more. And before you know it, you've got a whole bunch of amino acids floating around that your body likes. It has an easy time to take these enzymes and suck them up into cells and get them out of circulation for backup for tough times. Vitamins don't do any work. They're structural. They are integrated into hormones. They're integrated into tissue formation. They're also carriers of energy. Minerals don't do any work. Everything is very important. I am not diminishing the value of any of these things because everything is important. You cannot function in an isolation. But enzyme deficiency is a very primary cause for aging. As you become more and more depleted, AIDS is a good example. Immune system dysfunctioning. If you take a look at AIDS studies, you'll find that about 80% of the AIDS subjects basically have a drug problem. But drug defined in a larger context. Drug in a sense that is anything that is non-life supporting that is ingested into your system. That's a drug. And you could be talking about needles, street drugs. You could be talking about socially accepted drugs like alcohol and cigarettes and coffee. You could be talking about the drugs like white sugar, white flour, white fats. These are all drugs. They are activating your immune system to such a level where they're diminishing continuously your immune system reserves so that eventually you don't have the power. You don't have the ability to fight off a simple cold or a flu because your immune system has lost its bullet force. It just is inadequate. Immune system is continuously being sacrificed because as long as the body has to borrow enzymes from the rest of the body to maintain the cooked food diet support, it will do so as long as there's adequate amount of borrowing to be done. Because if the food is not digested, you will either starve of malnutrition or you will die of food-related toxemia, rot, ferment, rancidity. And that stuff is ghastly deadly when it's not digested. All you have to do is take a McDonald's meal, put it in a food processor, blend it up, let it sit for 24 hours at 98-degree temperature like your body. Do you think you could even smell that stuff? Well, that's what's going on in people's GI tracts. That's why all the deodorants, that's why all the breath refresheners, that's why all that skin smell. They are in a state of rotten heap. Rot, ferment, rancidity. That is smelly stuff. When you have pathogenic microbes within your GI tract proliferating, what you have is over 35 organic acids which originate in the form of gas, the nitrogen family, the sulfur family, the phosphorus family. They are stinky. Have you smelled the rot of an egg? I mean, that's what's going on. Bean rot. All these things are happening and it's absorbed into your system. Eventually, as you are absorbing more and more of this gaseous stuff, it goes into solution. From solution, it reaches the crystals that are formed when it has gone into basically a hydraulic state. They will start reaching what is called supersaturated state, which means that you can't dissolve anymore. And precipitation starts taking place. Uric acid crystals will start dropping out in muscle tissues, lactic acid crystals, and all these crystals that most people have in the sole of your feet. Do you realize the sole of your feet, you have the highest concentration of sweat glands? When you lived in nature, walked around barefooted, this garbage disposal system, which was continuously being dampened by mud, by streams, by dew from the grasses, by the sweat that you generated as you were running from some wild carnivorous animal or something like that, it was excreting these waste products out of your system. But now you got socks, you got shoes, you got them all tied up, and the dye is 10 times more toxic than the prehistoric diet was even when it was cooked. So now this stuff starts reaching supersaturated states, and you got crystals all over. The feet start going through deformations. The toes start being put aside by what? Crystal formation, calcium deposits, whatever it might be. And you got aches and pains in the feet. Then you go to reflexology and all these other kind of therapies, and they help you temporarily. But until you make some dietary upgrade, cleansing, these things are, again, temporary, short-lived, and it will come back to haunt you in some other places. You can successfully treat with reflexology the kidney area. The next thing you know, you got to go to the doctor, reflexologist, for treating your liver. After they take care of your liver, the next thing you go is for treating your bowel syndrome. And you're just pushing the problems from one area to the next. You don't want to do that. You want to get rid of it altogether. So as we continuously degenerate due to enzymeless diet, there's other problems develop. Namely, the earliest one is called allergies. Allergies. What is allergy? It's basically stating that you are consuming in excessive amount something that your body has never been meant to handle, or it is able to handle in a certain amount, but you are taking far beyond your abilities to process it. And it gets in circulation. As a rule, it has to do with protein structures, exhaustion of proteolytic enzymes, the protein splitting enzymes. They have diminished the level, and now you are basically in a state of duress because you have these logs of complex protein circulating in the bloodstream. Situation is very similar to a backlog that occurs in a logging camp in a river. You got problems if they congest and clog up some particular areas. But it's even more severe, the situation. John Gaynor, a researcher, published his results in Science News, found that actually, under normal dietary conditions, the protein levels that people ingest can cause as much as 60% a reduction of the oxygen transport within the bloodstream. That is totally unacceptable as far as the body is concerned. So the body has mechanisms for addressing them. Two of them are in operation. One of them is called cancer, which is basically creating little sacks, garbage cans, you might say, for dumping this circulatory protein, and that's what cancer cells do. They can suck up 20 times more protein than normal cells can, and they get the protein out of circulation that normal oxygen transport can take place. The enzymes are manufactured pretty hard on a daily basis, and of course they participate in all body reactions, from me standing giving a presentation, which my mental processes are basically all made feasible by the ongoing activity of hormones and enzymes, the posture, the any activity you have from eye focus, all of it basically is the result of enzymatic processes that are doing work inside. When a body is in a state of crisis and healing, the enzyme activity goes up radically. In particular, as a starter, first of all, why fever? Why the body generates fever? They say, well, it's the bacteria causing nobody, and it seems like everybody, there's a high level of agreement that fever is good as long as it doesn't become excessive. But why fever could be considered good? It has to do with enzymes. Because for every degree rise in temperature, the enzyme activity increases 15 to 20%. All of a sudden, your body has raised the temperature by 4 degrees. It has basically doubled the activity of the enzymes because enzymes are much more active under warm environment. Enzymes are there. What are they doing? They're digesting the mucus. They're basically fighting the pathogenic microbes. They're cleaning up the blood vessels congestions over there. They're moving the hardened mucus into a slimy mucus that you could expel it through sneezing, wheezing, and coughing out of your system, that phlegm that goes out of your system that has gone into a hardening phase. So basically, the heat is extremely component. Matter of fact, they're using the heat factor in some form of surface cancer therapy as well as more under cancer therapy by using vibrational therapy directed toward targets or surface application of heat. They noticed that, for instance, they're able to have much more success with skin cancer using basically heat treatments associated with the skin in conjunction with other type of programs. But basically, so enzymes are there, their level increases, the immune system basically starts gathering the enzymes out of the metabolic functions, making it not available for physical activity. That's why you feel tired, because the whole system is basically set up now for fighting. It stops the digestive activity, because it tries to conserve the enzymes where it means the difference between life and death. And that is making as strong as possible the immune system. Thus, it sacrifices physical enzymes needed for metabolic other activities. So you feel tired and physical activity is diminished. You feel like sleeping around, the best thing in the world. And at the same time, you don't have any hunger, because hunger and eating sacrifices a lot of enzymes. Isn't that pretty far out, wild? I mean, the body just orchestrates to do all kind of right things. Your tonsils, wonderful device. I mean, they just blow up, prevents you from eating, so your lymphatic system could catch up with the excess foods that you have consumed over a period of time, so that it could clean up, and because you're being poisoned by the lymphatic system, so they chop out, your tonsils, and they say, they don't mean anything. It's a mistake. God made a mistake. Put in too many different equipments, But everything is in there, orchestrated. The whole concept of alkaline acidity is so central. We as a culture are consuming an acid-oriented diet because of animal protein, because of all the carbonated drinks, because of all the pickles and relishes, all the vinegar-laden or ascorbic acid embalmed juices that are on the market. They're all acidifying on the system. The beers, the wines, all of it acidifying one's body. Even the water can be acidic due to the fact of all the acid rain that drops down, or highly not alkaline, or not being very neutral. As a result, drinking a whole bunch of water might not be even adequate flushing. Dehydration is one of the most common diseases. An individual, because they're dehydrated, they build up an acidic condition, and it'll manifest in so many different ways. It'll manifest as migraine headaches, aches and pains. Migraine is due to acidification, generally as a rule. The stomach. In a healthy individual, the pyloric valve sits pretty darn close to the bottom. In a person who's suffering from migraines, it sits way below. The stomach hardly ever gets fully empty. As a result, you have a fermentation, rotting bucket that's sitting around in the stomach. That's why most migraine talk about nauseousness. And matter of fact, if they can get a good vomit, and I had 35 years of migraines to observe myself, and I've been 12 years now migraine free. And by good nutrition, exercise, the decline can also go back to where it's supposed to be. And migraine doesn't have to come. But that's a major contributing. But a lot of people have cured migraines just by drinking more water. Because it is due to acidity. Studies that have been done with migraines, they found 85% of the people who have migraines, they have lactic acid intolerance. They basically have already saturated themselves with so much acidity, little extra acid throws their body into a life-threatening situation. We have a nation of anemic children, anemic adults. The measure of anemia has been dropped 3 times the standard of who is anemic, because otherwise everybody would be labeled anemic, and we can't have a country of anemics. And it has to do with the diet, the environment, as well as what goes on in your mind, in your heart. And we can all change that. We can have whatever we wish in our immediate environment, and working together with others, we can make our immediate environment, the total planet, become as we decide upon through co-visions, and making the world a joy, peace, love, which is the natural state. Thank you.
What kind of smoothie are we making tonight?
Well, it's called Rivers of Light.
There you go. Smooth or
It's
what?
a pathway of enlightenment along the GI tract.
All right. Okay.
We're using some ingredients that are almost magical. They will keep you awake, make you lovable,
Lots of energy.
lots of energy, laughter, just dynamo. It's called super blue-green algae. Now, mind you, it says on it animal algae.
Oh, that's the one for the animals. Yes.
Yes, and believe it or not, the animal algae was the first algae food actually tested on humans before they gave it to the animals. So if it's good enough for humans, it was good enough for animals, so we're going to go back and give you some animal food. It's basically a very fantastic nutrient profile, primitive cell that carries primitive energy, memory, protection, adaptability, full spectrum of minerals, and all kind of other goodies that we're going to discuss tomorrow. I'm going to be adding into it also little extra enzymes to make sure that that digestive fire will just spark plug. It's like, and spectrobiotics, it's 8 different bacteria, so you're going to invite some foreign culture into your system.
Along with some Super Sun smoothie.
And that is primarily added to increase, well, first of all, it makes the smoothie much smoother. And primarily, if you wish for your own enlightenment, you don't need to use all of these things at home. My own directive generally is, I thought this gives you a very exotic, wonderful taste, is actually almond or sunflower seeds. I add some blue-green algae and a banana, and quite often that's all I'm going to add. But
So
to
on-
go
on-
exotic,
Well, I was going to say, if you're rushed in the morning, that's fine. Because
Yeah.
I take my algae with water, and it's not really that delicious. My liquid
this
algae.
is actually going to
So
be
this is a
quite
better
delicious.
way, and also
So-
to get some protein in there with
Yeah,
it.
exactly. You got a protein. They'll provide booster for your cells with tremendous amount of high quality, fast burning calories. Okay, so we put some almond, sunflower that has been soaked overnight at least,
Very important, the soaking of your nuts.
And then,
not to forget, soaking them
since we're
first.
doing
yes.
it for a large group, we're putting in much more water than you would have if you were doing it at home for your own self. These are dried fruit that has been soaked. I'm going to put in a few figs and apricot, and what else do we have here? Matter of fact, we'll just use, what do we got for tools? And then we're going to put in some frozen bananas, or actually cold bananas. Oops. There we go. You'll be amazed, it tastes better than the best smoothie you have ever dived into. And
so
now
healthy.
we're
So
going to
much,
put in
healthy.
some, about a
So
couple tablespoons.
You
And
just do it by the
yeah,
eye method.
that's the beauty of raw food work. You can't go wrong almost as a rule. And if you do, you can always adjust it.
I have to say, it already smells terrific.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
Oh,
I put in
yeah, you
about
put the
half a dozen-
capsules in, but
Well,
they're still in the gel caps.
I know, but at the same time you're swallowing the capsules,
Right.
so you're putting
So
it
it
in.
squishes up in there
Yeah,
anyway.
exactly. It'll
Right.
disappear. And then we're going to put in some algae over here.
Here we go again, the eye method.
All right. And
Now, if I were doing that, I would
chefs-
dump the whole thing in by mistake, but then I'd be really revved up all day.
we're finished when you stop hearing the sound of almonds cracking. So basically, it'll be a very smooth sound. You know, everything has been created into a smoothie. So now we just pour and serve, and it's a nice green color.
Thank you.
And
All right.
and each time it's a major surprise because you never know what to anticipate.
So here's to smoothies and raw live, and
It's not overly nauseously sweet. It's actually, even a hypoglycemic person could handle something like this. Though it is really desirable to move away from the sweets if you are on a basically recovery degenerative disease type of a program, and there's a lot of good reasons. We'll discuss it in tomorrow's presentation. Why is that the case?
now this
So-
is pretty much pre-digested and very, very easy to assimilate.
Exactly.
Yes.
All the foods that are in here are basically pre-digestive action by soaking the seeds. Overnight, what you have is the enzymes, which are hydrolytic. They become active from a dormant state in the presence of water. They start not only multiplying, but also deactivating enzyme inhibitors, which is really saturated all nuts and seeds.
Well, because
And
in nature, they have their inhibitors so that
Yeah.
they don't start growing until
then
growing
everything
season.
is right.
Yeah, they
and
need the
so-
right conditions.
The other thing we want to just mention, the probiotics is basically includes 8 different bacteria cultures. They seem to be, we tested it, they seem to be extremely well cohabiting with one another, and it leads to, you'll see a radical improvement in bowel activity as well as getting rid of, among other things, food-related gas, as well as improve the production of vitamin B12 and overall energy field. Nothing like living with live bacteria. And the enzymes is basically 12 different enzyme fragments that are there within this mixture, and every one of them enhances the more deeper breakdown of the complex food, so that it has a lot of side action. Instead of just having breaking it into halves, they break it up into quarters and even further, so that sugars are, rather starches are moved right into maltose, and simpler sugars up to sucrates and other kind of components. It goes through an extensive pre-digestive action because of the complication of the formula. So it's actually
ready,
very
the
good.
body, it's just ready for the body. And if you do this in the morning, you don't need your multi minerals or
No,
your
you don't.
multivitamins or any of that. Just
No,
this is all you need in the morning to
you're
get your day
charged
going.
for the right up to noon easily, and drink some water sometime along the way, and you're going to feel great. Now,
Would you ever recommend a fast on this, or no?
It would be considered more like a smoothie fast, and any kind of a mono diet is going to be extremely beneficial. And this is like basically like a raw food program, pretty high density. It wouldn't be major as far as cleansing reactions, and it would be extremely suitable for someone who is just starting on a vegetarian program or anything like that.
Or
So,
if they really love sweets, this is
Yeah,
a way to get
exactly.
something sweet,
Yeah.
but it's really good for
and
you.
it's fast food.
Yeah.
You prepare it fast, you eat it fast, and you don't have the slump associated with it. Like, for instance, if you lead a fast, hard-working life in the business community, this is one way of charging yourself nutritionally very quickly and having a clear mind and a high energy production throughout the day. Very
A
creative.
lot better than that cappuccino. I think you mentioned to me that we're going to be making dressings for the salad.
I
Yes?
thought, yes, one of the
Okay.
dressings. And I thought it would start with color. Very bright, uplifting on a dreary looking day. I thought, you know, the quality of the day is determined by how you feel inside. Who cares what the world looks like? So anyways, we're going to be starting off with the waters of life, which is always so essential. And this is going to be not one of those greasy salad dressings that come in bottles and totally clogs up your blood vessels and adds so much calorie to your salad that you might as well be eating a steak. No, this is basically a way to complement the salad so that you actually have a complete meal. You're going to have a protein-based salad dressing in a pre-digestive state, and at the same time, we're going to put some sugar in there, but we're not going to go out and process and give you sucrose. We give you the source, which is beets. Beautiful sunshine color. You will be amazed. It'll be like strawberry red as it explodes.
Now, can I help you out with any of the preparations?
Well, you can just smile and look beautiful.
You mean while I'm chopping my garlic?
Chop. Yes! Hey, chop.
Big knife, though, I have to say. Very carefully we chop over
You
here.
have to be, and we do have Band-Aids in case there's a
No, wouldn't do
slip.
that.
Then, so we put in almonds, water, carrot. No, this looks like beets, so we're going to put in beets. And some sea salt. And then lemon. And what we do is, I put all these things together, not having the faintest idea how it's going to turn out. What we do is, as we work our way along, we kind of test it for taste. Generally, I'm good at first hit. So we're going to add the garlic.
Okay.
She's basically
Diligently.
peeling. Although
Yes,
at
very
times I'm not
perfect
noted
garlic.
for peeling.
Okay.
On the recipe, I believe it's the red festivity dressing, it's called.
Ah, red festivity.
Yes.
Okay. Come on, come on, come on. Should I add more nuts?
I think we're
We have
finished.
enough?
I'm
Okay.
nuts enough.
Oh, please.
And,
More garlic? I love garlic.
Garlic? Let's find out.
Next
Maybe we
batch,
do need
next
more
batch.
garlic,
Okay.
huh? So we'll put it.
Do I get a taste too? Hello?
Hello. I think
I'm in on this action.
it's great
Isn't it
makeup
pretty,
cream
huh?
too. Yeah, on the face. You know, if it's
love
not
it.
good enough to put on your face or good enough to eat, you can't put it on your face because
Right.
your skin eats it. It came out perfect. First shot. What do you
First shot,
think?
delicious.
All right.
I think it's perfect.
This is going to be a nut loaf. Isn't that a wonderful thought? It's like the meatloaf, except this gives you life instead of giving you the beginnings of death. So, what are we going to start off with is
Nuts.
nuts.
Obviously.
But we're not going to do that
Oh, we're not.
because I'm just not fully oriented. We're
Oh.
going to start off with getting our basic vegetable ingredients. And then...
So a little carrot.
All right, we put in our carrots, and then we're gonna, why don't you help out by
Okay.
harvesting a little bit of celery in here.
Okay.
Get a few pieces of celery.
Have some celeries, more?
Yeah,
let's get
why
some more
not?
celeries.
Let's put in a little more of carrots. All right, good.
Enough?
Okay.
Okay.
All
Cauliflowers?
right.
No?
No,
Not this
well, we
trip.
could,
You could
but
actually,
we're not.
Okay. What else could go in there besides?
Cauliflower, broccoli, just about anything that you really like. Cauliflower and broccoli will work fine.
So any of the cruciferous?
Yes. Thank you. Yeah. Very good. Thank you. I'll just keep it over here. All right, you can hold on to it as we grinding it. Now, mind you, you can, instead of doing what we're doing right now through the food processor, you can just take the pulp of the juice that you have made and use it as a basis. But we're not doing that.
So you make this in batches, yes?
Yeah, and you
We're
can.
doing-
Yeah, we're going to make the carrot section. The next we'll do the nut section. Next, after that, we'll do the onions, and then mix it all together. Add some seasoning, and we'll be all set.
Okay.
Okay, so. All right, where's the blade? Here's the blade. All
the
right.
blade went in too.
I get just so conscious, I lose things.
Okay,
right.
wonderful nuts.
So we're going
going
to use
in.
predominantly sunflower that's been soaked.
A few almonds, sunflowers.
Is almonds soaked as well?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. All right.
Now, you wouldn't want to use zucchini or tomato or anything that's squishy in here.
No,
you want
we
to
would,
keep it hard. The
We would
cruciferous
use them for more
vegetables.
like gazpacho, yes,
yeah.
quite right. Things that are hard. Beets are really fine. Parsnips are fine, but they're more kind of a unique flavor. And like I said, I have a hard time finding my way on this small stage. That's how familiar I am with these units.
Well,
Ah,
we're getting
we
there.
go.
There we go.
And I'm going to introduce the salt. That's this Celtic salt.
Celtic sea salt, yes?
Yes.
Okay.
And we just move it downwards. You could also, which will works out even better, is run it through a Champion juicer, and it'll have much better consistency than you would through a food processor in a situation like this.
What about a vitamin?
Vitamix will do a great job too, especially when you are using this. This is just, the Vitamix has done a great job combining food processing and blending, and it does things that other blenders or food processors will not do it. Matter of fact, it'll be one of the things that we'll be demonstrating in the sea vegetable stew production, because there's no other tool I know that will do the job of tearing it down to a consistency that it should be there. Okay. So we empty this here. And then we chop up.
Blade. Once again, the blade keeps going.
Please.
Okay. There we go. See, what would you do without me?
I'm going to take you home.
Can always
Okay.
use an extra helper in the kitchen,
Well,
Okay.
more than, hopefully.
especially one that's good with the big knives.
Yeah, big knife, right.
My God.
Okay. Let's see. We need a big knife.
Ah!
Big knife
Here we go.
coming up.
Not it.
I'll tell you, I mean, I've had accidents on shows where it's not going to occur here, but I mean, I
Not
was
today, no. Thank you.
bleeding profusely. Matter of fact, one of the,
Right into the food? Right into the food prep?
it was for a group of vampires.
And they were not vegetarian vampires.
No,
we know
they
that.
weren't. They were. Matter of fact, believe it or not, what's going on in the vampire circus is actually the condition of the blood is so bad of the humans that they've gone to wheatgrass. And the immortality concept still works. Now, with the onions, we do on, off, on, off, on, off. And you don't want to pulverize it, otherwise it's not going to taste too good. So you want to have
Just
little
pulse
chunky
a little, right?
pulsing.
Yeah, okay.
You can take a look if it's chopped up fine enough. All right, so now
Okay. Blade, there we go.
I did that this
Yes,
time.
you got it now.
you.
Got it now.
All right. And by the way, I want you to know, I use scrub brush, I use soap and everything else on my hands just before I came on stage.
Well, you know, he's a very hands-on type of guy. So
And
that's
I
what,
did
what we
bring
have.
along plastic gloves, but I says, nah, I don't need it. Have you watched these chefs on television? Not a single one of them uses gloves. They
It's
might
true,
even
it's
scratch
true.
their nose,
Yeah.
but of course not with the hand that they mix their food.
And usually that's off camera anyway.
That's right. Okay, we've gone so far without making a mistake, so now the only other thing we want to do is add in, and I'm going to go Mexican seasoning. Quite often I like poultry seasoning, but this time it'll go Mexican. So we're going to use Mexican seasoning, and in honor of our new president, the Burritos Man.
Oh boy. We can't even go there. Now, where do you get this this Mexican seasoning from?
This comes from Frontier Herbs.
Frontier Herbs, okay.
Yes.
Yes, okay. I'm not familiar with that one, but now I
Well,
am.
it's
So that's
the list in the handout resources. Frontier Herbs are included. They're both retail and wholesale. Excellent operation to support, and they're all organic, or mostly all organic. It's one of the few places that you're going to have organic. The next thing we do is mix it in.
So it is very much like you were making meatloaf. You know, combining all of this. It even looks here. I'll hold it up while you mix and mash. Is what we have here. A little bit messy, but
All right.
all right.
Sufi rolls, you know, Sufis, they're really a celebrative in group of people, how they roll around.
Oh,
This is my Sufi roll
Sufi
as an
sushi
example.
rolls.
It's nori and a filling. In this case, the filling was made out of soaked seeds and nuts, combination of sesame, sunflower, pumpkin, and then a significant portion of buckwheat that's been sprouted for 3 days, quinoa, aramay, millet, and some oat. All of them sprouted for 3 days, and they're all mixed together. The seeds are soaked, the grains are sprouted.
And fantastic, I must
So
say.
just
I'm
to
not
give you a
waiting for lunch.
demonstration
I'm
of
digging in
how
right now.
we handle the nori rolls.
Where do you get uncooked nori? Untoasted?
Well, there's different, see if you read the labels,
Yeah.
it says dried seaweed. Now, as far as uncooked, I believe that you have a point there, because I think this stuff has gone through a cooking process and created these thin, fine sheets.
I asked the same thing in my health food store, and they only had the,
this is as far as I
processed
can go as far as dried, and that's, I guess, the nori is the least of all, the most positive. However, it's predominantly a mineral resource and not a significant source of anything like protein or anything else. So it provides still a nice way of presenting it, and you get the full spectrum of minerals. I buy a lot of my sea vegetables out of Oriental shops, and then I buy out of the other sources that are listed, which is 2 of them. One is a wholesale macrobiotic place, the other one is a seaweed company up in Maine. Okay, so what we do is basically
Just a quick plug. Circle of Friends in Maine, they're fantastic.
if you were to write down, if you have an address for the company, certainly would be appreciated, because it's good to support those kind of people. Basically what I've done is spread it, then I put some asparagus across, I put some scallion across, I put some red beets across, and a strip of zucchini.
Beets are here.
So they're basically
here's
stuffed.
some zucchinis.
And then what do you do is just start, thank you. It was strips of zucchini. This might be kind of hard to pull it
Not
together.
for me, but that's another story.
Oh, okay. So, and then just basically roll it.
So it's a rolly.
It's a rolly.
It's a
And then
rolly.
what you do is get wet, just get some water, wet it, and it will
Just so you can-
seal it.
Makes its own little wrapper, its own little sealer there with the water.
And
So if you're in transition and you're used to having sandwiches or
And
maybe veggie wraps,
you can have
but
this as a
is better.
sandwich. Yes, of course.
This is better than a sandwich. Much better. When it's
And
falling out.
what we have done is cut them up over here into small pieces, individual servings, and it's very important to use a very sharp knife. It's also very important to wash your knife between cuts if there is a lot of stickiness. With this particular preparation, there was. With a matter of fact, with nuts,
Just so you can
it's
see.
less of a stickiness problem. With where there's some grains involved, there is.
There's your noris after they've been cut.
So, and you can decorate it, put extra little tidbits, your personal statements, to give it a more aesthetic appeal. There's no end to what you can do there. I like to use, well, asparagus, broccoli, cauliflower, sometimes, but red pepper stands out, radish stands out, scallion stands out. These are some of the things that I end up using it. To share some aspects. Aging is very much a problem of continuous diminishment of functionality. As we grow older, we lose our ability both for speed, for strength, as well as flexibility. One of the interesting things is I was highly advanced arthritis. I had my knees about 20% larger than they are right now. That was 30 years ago. Through a diet that was free from all dairy products, especially pasteurized dairy products, and also following an alkaline vegetarian diet, I feel a high degree of increase in flexibility in the joints, as well as the joints that are in back over here. Most people would find it highly difficult or impossible to come into any of these kind of positions. Primarily, vegetarian diet is one that is geared toward, when properly chosen with a major emphasis on live food, it will contribute both to regeneration of degeneration as well as rejuvenation of the loss of strength, flexibility, mental clearness, and ability to become more youthful, enjoy life to the fullness. Basically, we are not really living longer as human beings. We are basically living longer as zombies under medication and mechanical assistance. I don't call that life. I just call it getting through, you know. There is a better way. There's a way to live so that we are going to be living in a world of peace, joy, creativity, total health, without the need to all this medication, where 15% of our gross national product is tied up. We're moving toward bankruptcy just purely from the cost of the disease management that is associated with all the hospital and the drug trade that is going into that. The alternative healthcare movement has escalated, exploded, to the point where the average alternative healthcare practitioner is earning more than the average private physician, allopathic medicine, is earning. We are looking at major shift where most people who are getting treated, they do it with alternatives as well as trying the traditional, because they're still indoctrinated in that kind of approach. But as the word keeps spreading, as the videos, as the books, as the media exposure keeps accelerating, eventually the medical profession, and it already is, moving toward alignment. Last year in the Journal of American Medicine, they claimed that the medical schools offer alternative therapies to the physicians. Why are they doing it? Listen, we know where the bucks are. They're giving even courses in what you would call polite bedroom manners, because they were not very polite with their clientele, and it's causing further to lose. And it's a stressor. If you are loving, you hug, you'll see the physician of the future. They'll write out a prescription. Well, you need 3 hugs per day, at least, minimal. You need to drink some water, go out for a long walk, take blue-green algae and enzymes, and I want you to smile quite often like an idiot for at least the first 3 months until it becomes a normal practice for you. And of course, talk to God daily. Thank you.